Hey YouTube, welcome to another video on this channel. Incha, get your heart ready. Because we are witnessing history, there's no doubt about it. SUPI is playing the Santos Open over there in Spain, Europe. So today I'm going to bring you the unforgettable round number 6, and even more in this match that SUPI was playing. A strong international master from Israel Rosen rated 2,508 playing at Grandmaster level, no doubt about it. SUPI. Here, he came up with a new line in the Sicilian Najdorf. Raphael chess, I can't believe it, but believe me, this is history. This variation, which I'm going to call the Sicilian Najdorf, SUPI variation. Get your Brazilian heart ready, get your popcorn, and let's watch this brutal match now. SUPI used the bishop e2 line, Karpov's positional style. e5 comes next, then knight to b3. Bishop moves to set up castling, now bishop to e3. All is normal here. No one spends much time on the clock. Bishop to e6 is also the most common move. SUPI is now playing. The knight to d5 move is also well known, so they're still following theory. And the move knight to d7 was played. Raphael chess, first question here, why doesn't he take on e4? Because here you already get hit by a tactic, it's a famous tactic, which is the move. Bishop to b6 hits your queen. And when the queen moves, the bishop here holds. Look at the knight coming in and you lose everything. Everything collapses. This would be an endless mistake. The international master didn't fall for it, he already knew. He moved the knight to d7, securing b6 now, queen to d3. Roque tricked Raphael chess. Everything happened quickly and the position is balanced. This remains within Najdorf theory, especially this variation where the knight is captured on d7. Since the knight is well placed, white removes it. After that recapture, the move is rook to c8 clear. At some point, black wants to argue that there will be pressure along this file. And the technical move here is the move that SUPI played, the move c4 again, played very quickly. And now we're going to reach the key moment. Why? Because here the move a5 was played. And the idea that black is going to try at some point is to remove the knight from b3 to gain a bit more control over the c5 square. Notice that SUPI at this moment plays the move rook from a to e1, which is also a natural move. He brings this rook into the game. EMI plays g6 and everything remains normal. He's going to bring the idea of rook to e8 and move the bishop to f8, then to g7. And here's the most remarkable moment of this match. Because in this position, SUPI comes up with a completely new move, never seen before in the history of chess. The most common move here is king to h1 will a, understand this? But SUPI played a4, which is actually the machine's second choice. Now, this move is something new. So, notice that SUPI had 1 hour and 29 minutes on the clock. He didn't spend time to reach this position, he knew it. EMI also didn't spend time, he knew it too. Now, this move is actually surprising, because the technical and well-known move here is king h1. There are still many games with king h1. And notice that the main line is still long, with rook e8. And now, white plays f4. And here comes the key moment, where black plays the move a4 to gain a bit more control over the c5 square. Now, Raphael chess, I understand. It's still balanced here, but what's SUPI's idea? Playing the move all4. He changes black's plans because black no longer has that advance. And here, EMI tried to keep the game within theory. He played rook to e8, moving the bishop to g7. And here comes SUPI's point, the strategic point of the Sicilian Najdorf SUPI variation, which is the move bishop to d2. This is brilliant. This here is brilliant. Maybe SUPI is already calculating in his head. Or maybe he knew the idea of a4 or had prepared this idea, but the engine here wanted g4, which is also an interesting idea. But this one makes much more sense from a human point of view, because look at what will happen in this middle game. Of course, a4 makes sense. Now he's threatening to take the pawn on a5. It raises the question of why a4, right? In this position, without the pawn here, you'd still have the advance, but now you don't. Black is forced to defend the pawn with b6, that's what was played. And now SUPI plays king h1, and everything will make sense to everyone who's following this video. Next, the international master plays move h5. He says the knight could move to g4, and now SUPI plays f4. Look at this. The soul of this variation is the bishop d2. This bishop will come to this diagonal and notice that SUPI plays f4 from the theoretical line, which brings the idea of opening up this long diagonal, something that's not used in the theoretical line. But here it's going to work like a glove. It's going to fit perfectly. Notice that in this position, the international master has no other move but to capture, because if he plays any other move, he gets hit with f5. You're destroyed here as pressure builds on g6 and your position collapses, forcing the international master. The only move is to capture on f4, and here you see that SUP doesn't want to capture with the bishop, he captures with the rook. Everything makes sense. Note that SUP was on the clock, obviously calculating. He was trying to remember what the subtle idea behind bishop d2 was. But what is SUP saying? That the bishop doesn't come here, it goes to c3, look there. And it's the soul of the game. Why does it work? Because now comes rook f1. And look how it's going to put infinite pressure on the knight on f6. Also, if the knight moves with the doubled rooks, you'll lose f7. Black already faces tough problems here. The position is balanced, but precise play is required. Notice the international master plays bishop to f8, still aiming to return to familiar ideas. Now black sets up a counterpoint with the bishop, planning bishop to g7 along this diagonal and SUP. Here, he doubles on the file, preparing the bomb, which will be bishop to c3. The international master now plays bishop to g7, and at this moment, SUP plays bishop to c3 here. This is a crucial moment. The international master moves queen to e7, threatening the bishop, and SUP defended. And now comes the knight move. And yes, things seem to have gotten weird here, really weird. Take a look, because if you have to give up the bishop, which is the soul of your strategy for white, things get complicated here. And if you don't give up the bishop, notice that the pawn on c4 has become a target. So for everything that SUP did to keep making sense, he will have to justify this threat. Now, on c4 and SUP played the computer's move, queen to g3, Raphael chess. It's impossible. The pawn fell in two ways. Exactly. But the international master defended with a knight to d7. Let's see why. Raphael chess. Can everyone understand why he didn't take with the knight? Well, this is the most direct idea. It's because you hang a piece and here it's over. Raphael chess. Don't explain the obvious to me. I wasn't thinking about taking with the knight. I was thinking about taking with the rook because here the diagonal remains blocked. Right, but if you take with the rook, you still lose a piece. Because I take on e7, e5, and no matter how you take, you hang the rook on the c4 square. And if you trade the rooks, I defend. My bishop took your knight, and here you have, in any case, one piece less. Raphael chess, I understand, it's no problem. That's why the whole theme of this diagonal, the knight there under threat, if you take here, the international master defended. Take a look, he says he'll take on c4 with the knight. Because now it's not that same idea of the knight falling on f6, what SUP played. Knight d4, that's what he played. And it seems worse now because the pawn is falling even harder. Raphael, and here you have to take. But the international master didn't take. He played knight c5, Raphael, quit chess. Ah, I can't understand, man. Why didn't the international Messi take the pawn? It's the SUP variation. It all makes sense. Here you take this brilliant bomb, and here it's lost. Incredible. The soul of this variation is the bishop. It's the soul. Look there. Threatens the queen, threatens the bishop. Here, you lose a piece on g7. If you take the queen, you lose the bishop. If you capture, you get checkmated. It's incredible. It's incredible. Raphael, calm down. Again, don't tell me the obvious. I didn't consider capturing with the knight on f6. I was thinking of using the rook. Why is that move a problem? It's the same thing. Knight to f5 and you're lost. Now it doesn't seem like it because the bishop with the knight on f5 isn't open, attacking g7. There was a threat to the queen and bishop, but I thought I could take the knight. Actually, you can't. Taking the knight means you lose. The rook on c4, and of course, look at the threat of checkmate. If you recapture the rook, you get checkmated. So everything is perfect all the time. This is something fantastic that's happening here. Emmy realized he couldn't take the poisoned pawn, so he moved the knight to c5 and said, "My knight is safe." But here, SUP plays bishop to c2, strongly controlling the entry to the d3 square and adding another piece to the attack. So SUP is playing on the attack. At this moment, the pressure is so strong here on the f7 square that the international master starts to reinforce. Look at that. He plays the move rook to c7 to be able to get the queen out of here. Look at that, keeping the rook holding this pawn. Because, of course, there's always the idea of knight to f5, which is something that's scary all the time. And SUP plays h3. He controls g4, and here he passes the turn to see what EMI will do. EMI kept playing. Look, queen to d8. Everything looks solid. This move seems natural, but here it's a mistake. It's a mistake. And it's hard to punish, very hard to punish. SUPI found the machine's move at that moment, which is the move knight to c6. It's the only way to look for an advantage with white. From the move queen to d8, it seems that black managed to reorganize. The f file will become solid. But you get hit with this move that attacks the queen and also threatens the knight. It seems Sup sacrificed a pawn. Emmy took it and remarked, "Hold on, you just gave up a pawn." But Sup's idea was never to take it back. He plays. Bishop takes on g7. The bishop on c3 is the soul. It's the soul. This bishop has a Brazilian soul. Incredible. And you can't take it. Here, Raphael's knight came back. Why can't you take it? Because you'll get checkmated. No, that's not an option. You lose the rook and take f7, and after recapturing, check king h8, and here you'll get checkmated. There's no way to defend anymore. There's nothing else to do. The game ends instantly, so EMI moved the knight back. He's saying, you took my bishop, my defender, but I still have the same material. Exactly, but the bishop is still the soul of the game. He plays bishop to f6, attacks the queen, and when the queen moves to c8, SUP plays queen to g5. And see how he's going to win along the long diagonal. Because if I play queen to h6, it's mate on g7 and mate on h8. There's nothing to be done. It looks like Black's last struggle is what Messi International played. He just threatened to take the bishop. And of course, if that bishop falls, the soul of the game will be lost. But SUP didn't allow it. He played another brilliant move. He didn't let it happen. Look how incredible that is. Because if you take it now, you give up the queen, and here you're completely lost, and worse, you have no way to defend the queen anymore. H is 6 for mate on h8 and g7, the bishop actually wins the game. EMI here, in complete desperation, has no way to defend against the idea of mate coming in anymore. So he sacrificed the queen. This is a completely desperate move. SUP said, you take the bishop, Cecilia Nanai's soul from the SUP variation, but here you lose the queen. This position is completely lost. EMI claimed he has knight to h7, but the material advantage is overwhelming. Queen to g3. Now, after you take on the other side, there's a threat on c4. SUP continues playing chess, p3 consolidating. Now it's just about letting the material advantage work. King to h8, SUP plays queen to e3. He threatens to take here, EMI defended by holding on, and SUP said, calm down, I have so much material that I can give some back. Look at that, he gives up the rook. Of course he's threatening to take on d6 here, EMI took the rook. But after the recapture, Messi International at that moment gave up on this part. Immortal, Raphael Chess, why did he give up? If I see the threat, there's still rook d8. Because you lose either way, you take this one, and now this one here, you'll be left with a rook against a queen. Endgame, let's go Brazil, this is history, and the precision of this match is on display. Unforgettable. A4 bishop to d2. Notice the computer marks no brilliant moves, 95-1. If this were Magnus, there would already be a few brilliant moves in this game. Now, updated results are live. SUP is in second place, tied at 5.5 with the top players in the Santos Open, and at this moment, gaining more than 8 rating points, already going back to 2,581. We're still monitoring the details closely. If you enjoyed the analysis, like the match, don't forget to like it and see you in the next videos. Bye.